I am Midwest All-Pro referee Ethan the Natural Iglesias, and you're listening to the Kota iRadio Network's Rundown on IndieMania RetroMania.
Kota iRadio Network, I'm your boy, DJ Barbecue, and we're doing the IndieMania tournaments, Retro Soft Studios RetroMania Rundown show. We're going to start with the Mini Division, and that one's been done for a while, but let's do a recap. We have Shane Mercer, we have Colby Carino, we have Anthony Green, and we have Chris Bay winning their first rounds of that IndieMania Mini Division. We go to the IndieMania Dreamer Division, and that one is completely done with the first rounds. We have Matt Cross, we have the Man Scout, we have Steve Miggs, and we have Luke Hawks to finish that one out. Now, as of Tuesday, which was yesterday, January 7th, we had Simon Miller going against Dave Dahl. We haven't had the actual final results yet. As of this morning, I will find that a little bit later. But keep going to RetroSoft Studios' Twitter account, Instagram page, Facebook page. Follow the instructions on how to vote and vote for these athletes. If your athlete has not won or did win and you're waiting for that round, still go to the next rounds and still vote for these athletes. Every vote counts. In that case, we will go back in studio and start talking to Jeff Connelly. Jeff Connelly was in this tournament. Unfortunately, he did not win. But you know what? We want to hear from him, what he feels like this tournament meant to him, and what was it like, finding out about being in the tournament. All that and more on the Kota iRadio Network.
Is it your dream to become a professional wrestling superstar, manager, or referee? Well, you can make that dream a reality by training with Midwest All-Pro Wrestling. Learn from former WWE superstar and NXT coach Eugene Nick Dinsmore. Classes are training right now, so go to MidwestAllPro.com and click on training to enroll today.
Hello, Kota iRadio Network. This is your boy, DJ Barbecue. Dave, the Tiger Man Smith, and Cole Dawson will be with us on another episode. They had scheduling conflicts, and they give their apologies about not being on here. Today's guest is Jeff Connelly. Jeff Connelly recently just went in a hardcore match of retro-style hardcore against Matt Cross for the Retro Studios WrestleMania IndieMania event that we have going on here. Jeff, thank you for coming on to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me, DJ.
Thank you. Now, real quick, like this whole RetroSoft Studios IndieMania thing just like caught on fire. All of a sudden, they're coming out saying they have this game. It's supposed to be the successor to WrestleFest, and then it got into things getting worked out to where they're on all platforms, and then they're the sequel to WrestleFest, and they started doing this IndieMania wrestling, and they started asking people to come on in and drop your name on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook about what independent wrestler you'd like to see in a video game. Because, this is unprecedented. They've never had this before. Tell us a little bit, the listeners, about how it felt like when people kept tagging your name in there.
Honestly, I was absolutely flabbergasted. I was floored. I've been wrestling for about 10 years. Fairly local to the East Tennessee, West Virginia, Virginia. I've been down to Texas, but I don't really go that far. And just the amount of support and love off of one post that I, posted hey, this would be a real cool opportunity. And then it just kept rolling in of that original post. So, I mean, it was amazing. I never even expected to even be a part of it, but so.
Right. They had a lot of entries, and they narrowed it down by who had the most votes. And I mean, you obviously made it. Was it like a surreal thing? Did you quite understand what was going on? Because I mean, I don't remember, and I'm like 39, ever having any independent wrestlers in there. I mean, you had the, you win with us kind of thing for the old video game with Starman and that, but it wasn't really like, independent wrestlers. But like, when did it really hit you that you were going to be part of this game, possibly?
Well, honestly, I've been following the game since really I first seen it announced when they only had Road Warriors announced.
Right on.
So I mean, before BWO or anything, I've already started following this game because I've loved wrestling video games my entire life. I've collected systems and just to buy all the old games. I've bought a Nintendo SNES Classic and I've modded that and put Matt Mania, which is also one of the successors, Dynamite Tommy and I forgot the other one. It's a Warrior. They're also going to be involved in the story mode of
Right.
RetroMania.
Right. With those our fellow co-host, the Tiger Man, you brought up games. What type of games did you play as a kid then? Other than the wrestling, did you just stick with wrestling, or did you have some other games on top of wrestling that you have played over the years?
So mostly it was wrestling. Of course, I was born in '83, so I kind of grew up with the Mario games and kind of grew from there. Late '90s, kind of got into the Tony Hawk series, but for the most part, it's wrestling. I mean,
right.
It's been my lifelong passion. So, and that's what I've always kind of liked to disappear into doing.
Did you know any of the other independent wrestlers that were on the list that were the final 32?
Several, actually. Elliot Russell, who was also in the Dreamer division with me. He's a fairly local guy around where I live. He's from Morristown. I live in Kingsport, so we're about an hour away. Him and Sigmund, who's actually going to be in the next division that's on there. We all wrestle for the same promotion in Kingsport, Tennessee. And luckily for them, they're actually going to Japan next month for, I think, their third or fourth tour.
Oh wow!
But I know them. Sugar Dunkerton is an amazing guy. Anytime I'm in the locker room with him, I'm absolutely thrilled. Matt Cross, who absolutely handed me my ass in that tournament. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
As well. I mean, I hate to say it, as soon as I seen that's who I was against, I knew I wasn't going to make it out of the first round. But
well, I was just going to ask you about that because, it has to be kind of a shell shock situation when you see all these wrestlers, the 32, and you're one of them, and then you see the list. So the other 31, was there any of them? I mean, you obviously seen Matt Cross. Everybody did once the brackets came out. But was there any other ones that you were kind of like, shit, like, I have to go against this guy possibly?
Well, when I first seen the list, I still think Matt Cross is going to win the entire thing. Personal opinion. But when I seen everybody, Warhorse, he has a huge following on social media. He's definitely going to go far. Simon Miller, with What Culture, and he has a huge following. Sugar Dunkerton, like I said earlier, the level of the caliber of some of these people and the just wide-ranging social media presence that
Right.
they have. It was in awe. I was in awe with all
Right.
that.
One thing that came to mind for a question. I've seen the kind of the backstage part of professional wrestling. Helping out with a good friend of mine, doing some of his shows and then kind of booking shows in my home city. My son's, the referee Ethan Iglesias is a ref for Midwest All Pro Wrestling. What is it about like social media that's kind of helped you in your career? Because I mean, it's obviously a change from what it was back in the day. I mean, we didn't have the internet. Even if when we did have the internet, it wasn't like to what we have now, to where all these fans can reach you. Can you give a little bit of detail on what that feels like and how that helps you?
So, the entire dynamic of wrestling has changed. With the access to social media now, where before, with the area of the territory days, guys would be able to jump from territory to territory, go in as a complete unknown, other than if you've been featured in Pro Wrestling Illustrated or one of the other magazines. You go there as a complete unknown, and you build from there.
Right.
And you could always reinvent yourself, try different things. Nowadays with social media, it's really the goal is everything's an open book. Everybody has access to everything.
Right.
I can post a match, and people in China can see it. Now where before there was no way that they'll be able to see anything like that.
Right. So you can basically say that this social media is kind of like, their generation's Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being involved in this tournament, I've had so many, new followers on Twitter. I've had people, message me, letting me know that they've watched, this match and they've absolutely loved it. And, it's really just opened up, a whole new, thing for me. Because quite honestly, I was actually thinking, this year might have been my last.
Right.
But I don't think that anymore.
Right. It has to help out with the mentality aspect, because I mean, I've had conversations with my friend about, hey, what was it like when you started up? And he goes, in some ways it's a little easier, because they have this access to social media. They can get, people to look at the videos and it's all over. And sometimes it's also stressful because, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's worth it. You were saying earlier that you had some influences, and one was Owen Hart, and we'll get to the other one as well. What are some of the things that you took away from what Owen Hart was doing in his career that helped you and yours?
Well, for the most part, with Owen, you kind of always could see that little gleam. He loved what he was doing.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something that really drew me to him. And then just add on to the fact that he was so good at just being so unlikable. And that's a trait. I mean, that's hard to do.
Right. Is that who brought you, kind of drew you to wrestling? Cole Dawson was always asking those questions on the Pro Wrestling Uncut show. Was those individuals, and we're going to get to Chris Candido also, were they the ones that drew you to professional wrestling?
No, I kind of, I've liked wrestling since I was really young. One of my first memories was actually watching Sting. He was the one who kind of brought my eye to professional wrestling. But as I got older, that's what, the guys who were able to thoroughly entertain, like
Right.
the Owen Hart, the Chris Candido, those are the ones that really kept me in as I grew.
Right.
As I grew a little bit older.
Go a little more in depth with Chris Candido. What about that? About that individual, that athlete, that kind of inspired you in your career.
Have you watched any of his promos from ECW?
Yes, I've seen a couple of his, and it's not like his individuals ones, but yeah, I get what you're saying there.
Dude, it's hilarious.
Right.
I can't watch one without laughing.
For some of them that may not, because I've been naive the other day where I was like, talking to this one individual on Twitter, and they had no idea who I was talking about, and that was one of the most popular professional wrestlers in the early 90s. Can you give them a little idea of what some of those promos were like with Chris?
There's no way I could even attempt, because talking is one of the weakest parts of my game.
I thought maybe you could help me out here a little bit, because I can talk and blab. Cole and the Tiger Man know that I can talk and blab a lot, but there was no way I was going to be able to do it. So I was hoping that you could possibly help me out a little bit.
He would be able to talk. Being from Jersey, I was born in Jersey, so
okay.
That was a little bit of a connection there. I've always loved that. But he'd talk like a mile a minute, and not, just as he's doing that, he's making you hate him and love him at the same time.
Right.
Making quick-witted jokes that there's no way I would ever be able to, come up with anything half as good as that. But,
with those promos, who do you think is in that category that's in today's wrestling right now that that you kind of like, oh god, that's like a Chris Candido like promo?
Oh god. Really, I can't think of anybody.
I just thought of that, and the only one that, it's not really close and similar. I guess he gets a lot of publicity about it, and there was maybe one or two promos that I seen him on one of the pay-per-views that they did, but I could probably chalk up MJF in that category. I could also chalk him up with Ric Flair and Bobby the Brain as well.
Yeah, I would put it's a slightly different style.
Right.
And I'll definitely put him more as a Ric Flair or Bobby the Brain, like you said, or I had it on the tip of my tongue.
I was gonna say kind of more of the the old brick phone toting other side of Paul Heyman, if you know who I'm talking about. I'm just trying to throw it out there.
Yeah, Paulie.
Yeah, Paulie, dangerously. That snarky, that real quick-witted heel that really doesn't give a rat's ass what you as a fan think. Speaking of that, did you watch when he portrayed Cody Rhodes on AEW?
Yes.
Okay.
I've tried real hard to keep up with AEW. The amount of wrestling on now is insane.
Right.
and I love it.
What was that because I've had other people get really upset, why would they throw things, oh god, you're a dumb idiot, you're gonna get kicked out. But I know Cole, Dave have Tiger Man have both told me this, can you give the listeners that are kind of new to this, there's some fans that listen to this that know what you're probably going to say, but tell them exactly what that means when you see somebody get something like that thrown on you, because you remember probably the old Monday Nitro WCW days, Monday Night Raw days. Can you give the fans a little bit of what you think, if that's a good or bad thing?
That's a great thing. That means that you've exactly done your job. At that moment, those people absolutely cared. They were so upset that they took their soda that inside of an arena probably cost about $3.
Right.
And they threw that thing, because they were upset. It brought the emotion out, and that's the goal of any professional wrestler, to bring emotion out from each and every person in that crowd.
Have you ever gone to any like arena that you've been a spectator or been a wrestler, an athlete in that position, to where you've seen that happen?
So for a while, something that used to happen with me personally, and it just recently kind of brought back. Fans used to throw toilet paper at me. Where everybody in, like, all the baby faces that they love, they threw streamers. I would go in, they'd throw toilet paper. And it kind of died down, and then just somebody shared a video, and then next thing I know, at a different promotion. I think the biggest count, I think it was around, I think they said 128 rolls.
Wow.
Last time, and it was mainly bought by one fan.
Dedicated.
Yes. And now it's kind of turned more into they love to hate me.
Right.
So they do that. But at first, it was more of a, they actually hated me.
So they probably haven't shut down a show because of that, if it gets towards the end, throwing that much toilet paper at you.
No, they make sure to specifically say.
I've gone to one.
Toilet paper.
Oh, okay. Well, so then they acknowledge not to throw it. Okay. I've been to one event, and that was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, in the old Sioux Falls Arena, and it was WCW, and that was the first time they ever came there. And they really didn't bring anything. It looked like, kind of an independent show. You just brought, it's a house show. It's not a big event like some of the independents will, put on a little bit more detail and stuff and decorate them. It got so bad that the NWO guys that were there were on the mic. They were cutting a promo, but people were throwing their pop bottles. Now, you've had probably a pop bottle or a water bottle. Those hurt when you throw them. They were throwing, I don't know what it was, napkins, wadded up. I mean, they were throwing wrappers, peanut bag, whatever they could get they threw it in the ring. Well, there was kids there. And at that time, I kind of was like, I was in my teens. So I'm just kind of, bring this up to ask you, have you ever seen this happen before? They cut the show early. And it got so bad that because the fans were running on the emotion, and the wrestlers bought it out because they were supposed to be heels, that when they called it, the wrestlers got down, and then fans started fighting there. And have you ever been to a show when you were watching before you got into professional wrestling? Have you ever seen something like that before?
I've seen stuff like that before. Old ECW had something similar. But have I ever been to a show? Luckily, no. Because to me, if the show gets cut short, the half of the crowd that wasn't, essentially, getting so involved,
right?
They kind of got ripped off of half the show or the main event at least.
Yeah. The only positive side of that, and there's not a lot, but the only positive side is that a bunch of us fans were able to go, because that's the way we had to go to get to our cars. We got to talk to Charles Robinson for a little bit, and he was telling everybody that passed by that, hey, we apologize for what happened, but, safety first on that situation. Let's get back to this RetroMania wrestling here. I put out a tweet on our podcast account, and I was like, this was like the Hunger Games, if it forever be in your favor. And then you came back with the reply Could you tell them what your reply was that you sent out, because it made us laugh, that's for sure. What was that reply that you put out there?
Oh man, I can't fully remember that.
I mean, I put it out and I go, it's like the Hunger Games. Let the whatever, the old saying, forever be your favor. I'm trying to scroll through here right now to see if I could find it. And I'll be honest with you, I was sitting up there in the studio and doing some video editing, and I actually was drinking coffee, and that old GIF where it looks like somebody's spitting out coffee. I kind of did that just a little bit because I was like, oh, that caught me off guard. It worked perfectly well, and I wanted to. Where is it? I need to find that because it was pretty entertaining. Do you have any, as I'm looking for this, you don't have any hard feelings, do you? Because you lost. I mean, I know that it means a lot to the athletes to be in this game because it's never ever happened before. Can you kind of go in that emotional side part where you found out that Matt Cross ended up winning that round?
So when I first was nominated, I was like, man, it would be so awesome if I won. I get to fulfill a dream, become a part of this, video game that I've honestly followed since, what I feel is the start. And then I seen that they were, RetroMania posted something along the lines of how they sent out something to David Arquette. And I was like, oh, damn. Well, that's awesome to be involved. I hope I go far. The longer I'm in it, the more, more people will see me. And then I was announced against Matt Cross. I was like, well, as long as I get 25%. And I got 26% of the fan vote. And the simple fact of, 26% of the fan vote, I didn't win between the actual developers of the game or Dave, I forgot, LaGreca. I think that's his name. I hope I got it right.
Yeah, it's Dave LaGreca, yeah.
If not, he didn't vote for me, so who cares?
Oh, Dave.
But just, I got 26% of a fan vote that I've been keeping up. Me versus Matt Cross had more votes overall than any other.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
That has to mean a lot to both of you, though, because I've been watching, and as people noticed, if they go to the Kota iRadio network on Twitter, you'll notice that I've been keeping up, kind of doing play-by-plays, retweeting, doing all that, as you know. But yeah, you guys had the most votes out of the division so far. I mean, you've had the Mini division, and the Dreamer division, and now they're just starting on the Retro division, here. But what were you thinking right when you saw that?
I was almost, speechless, really. Just, proud of, proud that I was able to kind of pull that. But more importantly, I felt thankful for every single fan out there that, voted for me. Even though I know for a fact some people voted for me solely because I was pushing it. Some people voted for me solely because I was the underdog. I was looking at the people who, liked the status on Twitter, and Tommy Dreamer was on there, Austin Idol was on there, and knowing it was essentially because I was the underdog. Because I've never met Tommy Dreamer, I've never met Austin Idol. I'm sure they've, Matt Cross has met both of them. but just the simple fact that they showed support, just for the underdog,
Right.
it meant a lot to me. And like I said, in my mind, 10 years I was done, and my 10-year mark is July, and I really don't think it's the end anymore.
Right. I mean, that's
just because of some support.
Right.
You
only need that little spark sometimes.
Yeah.
So you had Tommy Dreamer. That would just put me on the floor. We have several of the icons, the Hall of Famers that have been in professional wrestling that ended up following us back, and I just about went on the floor too. One, I'm really happy because he ended up. We met him at a Midwest All Pro Wrestling event, and got did the meet and greet and took pictures with him. But he allowed me to use that picture for my campaign when I was running for mayor in the city I live in, which I thought was pretty cool. I bring this up just wondering if you have any stories about any of the wrestlers that you've met during your time as a professional wrestler, or even before when you were a fan.
Yeah, I do. And first off, just to show how great of a guy he is, Matt Cross voted for me.
Really? He did, huh?
Yes. And that's just to show how great Matt Cross is. But so, I mean, I've met several people. Ricky Morton has his school about an hour from where I live. And one summer he had me come and be a guest trainer, there for his students every week. That means a lot to me. Kind of a funny one, Barbarian. Years ago, I was probably about 7, 8 years. Me and him had a match. After the match, he went over to the promoter, Casey Thunder, and he was just like, that kid that I wrestled, really, really good. I really enjoyed working with him. Anytime you have Stephen Walters, I'll work him. Wow. And Stephen Walters is now Dash Wilder.
Oh, I had no idea.
He thought I was.
Wow, that's really cool.
But also because, I mean, he met him, he knew him, had no clue who I was. But just I took it as a compliment.
Right.
Bobby Eaton is. I have a kind of a personal thing where I don't really like taking pictures. With people, if I'm in a match with them, that's how I get the picture.
Right.
But Bobby Eaton was one of those that I had to take a picture with.
That's an iconic individual, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And just about 2 months ago, December, Sigmund from the Heat Seekers, who's actually in this next division, he held a benefit for Bobby Eaton where 100% of the proceeds went to Bobby.
Right on. That's very cool.
Yeah, and I was on that show, and just, we all donated our time, everything, just to kind of as a thank you to Bobby.
Right on.
And, so, I mean, that's not really a big story of me meeting them. That's just, something I always thought was.
Oh, it's a good story.
I love the fact that I was able to kind of show appreciation to somebody who has meant so much to professional wrestling, especially in the South.
Right. Speaking of somebody else that's been meant a lot to professional wrestling, Liger, Jushin Thunder Liger just retired. What does that name mean to you when somebody says Jushin Thunder Liger?
People use the word legend and icon way too much. If you wrestled in the 80s and now 90s, now people will call you a legend. To me, Jushin Liger is a true legend.
Right.
You know, he has really done it all, and has really inspired so many. You know, he's one of the first real big Japanese wrestlers to make a splash in an American country or American company, at least in the 90s. If you don't count Great Muta was there before him.
Right.
But
I have to put him up in the you know, and if you were talking about the world type, you know, well-known superstars, I would have to put him up there. Muta, Hogan, you know, Liger, and you know, there's like 3 other ones, but he's definitely up there in that top 3, and not any particular order. But yeah, he's done it all. I mean, it's just iconic. You say Liger and people know exactly who it is. You know, it's like people that usually don't watch professional wrestling, and you say Liger, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was all over the commercials or on TV. You know, we'd flip through channels and there he'd be, you know.
Yeah, that guy with the cool mask.
Yeah. You know, and I don't know, did you watch Wrestle Kingdom and New Year's Dash?
I did. I didn't watch New Year's Dash yet. Honestly, I have a little bit more of a reason to watch it as well. The guy who not really initially trained me, but took me under his wing and brought me on the road with him is Chase Owens.
Oh, okay. Right on.
You know, so, I mean, I've always thought, like, ever since he's been a part of New Japan, I've, you know, been following as much as I can. Yeah, because I look up to him. He's about 10 years younger than me, but I look up to him.
Right.
But yeah, I woke up early just to watch the Liger match on both nights.
Oh, you woke up early to watch that?
Yeah.
I kicked myself in the rear. I didn't go and take a nap before, and I sound like I'm like 90 when I say I didn't take a nap before. But no, I decided to stick through it. I thought it was going to be on at midnight. Nope. Wrestle Kingdom wasn't on at midnight. It was a lot later than that. So by the time it was about 6 o'clock, you know that gift where the guy from The Office is just kind of slouched in the chair, like, you know, sleeping? Yeah, that was literally me. I woke up, my back is cracking, it's sore. And then the next night, because it's not just one night, it's 2 nights, and I thought it was one night. Nope. Gotta go 2. That was a little easier than the first night. Did you last through the whole time?
Well, I woke up early, but it was still kind of going on, and I just rewound.
Yeah, okay.
On night 1. Night 2, roughly the same thing, because it started earlier. I barely caught the live feed.
Yeah.
On that. But I watched it, and then I took my happy ass to work.
Yeah, I had to do that too. I was really sluggish. I had to try to act like I, got some sleep at least. I mean, I got some sleep, but I mean, I was pretty dragging my feet, if you know what I mean. So, I found that tweet, by the way. I was just having a little fun with this, and I was talking to the other co-host, Tiger Man and Cole, on Messenger as well, back and forth. And I go up and I put this gift up here, and it's what's her name that has the bow and arrow, and it shows her taking the 3 fingers, giving it a kiss, and putting up with their sign, and it says, "And may the odds be ever in your favor," because I'm like, this is like the retro Hunger Games for the IndieMania tournament here. And I really thought maybe like I said something wrong, because I know that at that point people were, already beat out, or just gonna, looking at the score, like they're probably gonna get beat out at that time. So I thought maybe some wrestler were mad at me, and I didn't know see your name at first. I'm like, oh God, somebody replied to that. I'm gonna, how people are on Twitter. You go and say, "This might be how I felt all day yesterday," and it's her in one of the banquet gowns, and it says, "How do you make people like you?" ? And I'm like, oh God, that hurt, Because I thought maybe you're mad that I put that up there because, I mean, sometimes, yeah, people have different feelings about this. I mean, this means a lot to them. What was going through your head when you saw that post that I made?
When I first seen it, I was like, oh man, I really, I suck at Twitter.
Oh, you and me both, man. I don't do that well on Twitter. I see all these other guys nonstop, and they're getting likes and follows, and yeah, I'm still learning.
David Starr, one of his handles is he's really good at Twitter. I want to start one of mine for I'm really bad at Twitter.
Right?
But I seen that, I was like, oh man, I have to find a Hunger Games gif about, essentially, me failing or something, just as to poke fun at myself as well. But when I seen that, I was like, close enough.
Right.
I found a way to make it work.
Well, our mascot Kota Bear, appreciates this. So he's kind of one of those bears that are big and likes hugs and doesn't like to see people get down in their life. So they want to see everybody be happy and positive. Cole usually asks this question, and I don't know, he never sent this to me to ask, but I'm going to take one out of his book. Do you have any great road stories that you'd like to speak of, or if you can speak of, would you like to tell the listeners about?
Honestly, the first one that came to my head, it's not, amazing, but the guy who it was almost a little half-ass rib, but he still talks about it. So, this kid was a referee trying to train to wrestle, and actually now he's part of, the same faction that I'm in at Innovate. So we're riding down to North Carolina. He's about a year in, and I look over, and he's passed out, and I had to get him. So as we're driving, I just reach up and give him the hardest chop I could while driving.
Ooh.
And he swore that he thought we were in a car wreck.
You basically Waltered him?
Yes.
Damn.
And he absolutely swore that we were in a car wreck and thought his life was done.
How hard did you hit him?
I don't think it was very hard. I'm not.
Did you cup the hand, or did you just go flat-handed, flat-palmed, and just give it, saying, you know what, good Lord, you better pray for this soul?
Oh, I flat-handed that.
Ruthless.
I'm not protecting him. He's sleeping.
He had his shoes on, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what happens. If he's listening to this at some point, you don't pass out, you don't fall asleep with your shoes on. You're gonna get, I was thinking you're just gonna do a wet willy. I mean, I guess we're pretty much, amateurs over here, amateur hour. I didn't think about going with the whole full slap the chest. Wow. Yeah. That would suck. So after that, like, what else went on? Because I'm pretty sure he's probably cursing a few pirate words.
He did. He's never slept in the car with me again.
You think?
Yeah. And like I said, I hear that story at least 2-3 times a year with him just telling somebody about it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would always say, because when I do pranks, I don't start them. I always tell people don't if you want to do a prank, go ahead, but I'm gonna warn you, I don't get even. I finish the prank. Oh, what are you talking about? I've one real quick. One of the girls I used to work for when I was at a steakhouse cooking, and I'm not called DJ Barbecue for nothing. I mean, I've done a lot of competitions, won some championships, People's Choice Championships, Grand Championships with teammates, Grill Master Awards, and one of the girls when I was at the steakhouse thought it would be really cute to get me with a prank, and some water over the door fell on me at work, and everybody was laughing and thought it was ha 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 funny. Well, we had some perch that was shipped to us, and it was open, so we had to throw it in the garbage can. Well, as we're taking the garbage out, that perch fell out on the floor, and she's not around, the other cook's not around, no one's looking, and I'm like, this will be perfect. I had extra gloves on all the time in my pocket, kind of looking like, a geek nerd cook, but I had extra gloves always in there. So I got the glove out, put the glove back on, and took it, and her car was always dirty. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen teenage girls, how their cars are. When I was, they're dirty. They don't pick up. There's everything, wrappers from McDonald's, Burger King, all that stuff. I threw it in the back in one of the Pringles things. Made sure the Pringle lid wasn't quite shut, but I put it under her seat because, her mom's been getting on her for, months to clean her car, and she wouldn't do it. So I'm thinking, okay, this will help me and help her mom get her to clean her car. She went a month, did not know what was the smell. She ended up cleaning. Here's the funny part. She opened the trunk and cleaned that first, because it looked like her dresser drawer in the trunk. She cleaned that first, thinking that was the smell. Nope. Kept going on. I had the next 2 days off, mind you, and she ended up coming into the restaurant when she knew that I was going to be there, and she just sits there, has this smirk grin on her face, and it was like, oh, so you think you're a funny guy, huh? And I'm like, I told you not to mess with me with the prank. And everybody's like, what did you do? And God rest Cruzy, the manager there, Soul, and the owner, Jeff Radigan. They were mentors to me. They wanted to know what I did because they thought maybe I was doing something, like harassing the employee or whatever. And she's like, no, he put an old perch that was left on the ground in the back of my car. And they immediately started laughing their ass off because apparently her mom was at the bar, just got there from working, and was just telling how she was all upset that her daughter wouldn't clean her car. And so they were bursting out laughing, and, they were laughing, and she was kind of getting mad that those two were laughing. And, she was like, I'm going to get you back. I was like, yeah, I wouldn't do that because, how long it took you the last time, with this. It was a month. Oh, yeah, but I'll get you back. And her mom comes walking in at this point because they told her that she was there. And like, hey, I just want to give you this. And she gave me a couple dollars to get a couple drinks after work. Her mom did. I was like, hey, thanks. I've been trying to get my daughter to clean her car for for months, and she wouldn't do it. Now, for some reason, you do something and you get her to clean the car. And so that was funny. And then a month later, I go and get gas because I had this Escort, and I undid the cap, and there was tuna all over the cab. Oh. And I wasn't at work. I was off work. I was at the gas station, and that car, literally, I could go forever, back and forth, hours to other cities and back. Didn't have to fill up ever. And she did. I looked at her. I was like, all right, we're done with this prank thing. Bravo. I'll give credit where credit is due. But yeah, she had it covered all over the gas cap like peanut butter. And yeah, so like that, I say that story. I'd rather have that happen to me because I thought that was bad. The tuna smell. I'll take the tuna smell over a slap on the chest. Any day from what you've been telling me how hard you hit this kid when he was sleeping in the car.
For the record, I do think you won, though.
Do you think I won?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey, you know what? Feed the ego here. Say it again. I won. Yes. Okay, I'll take that. I always thought I did, but then after a while, I'm like, all right, she got me back. I'll give credit where credit is due. No, that's pretty cool.
Now, I will say one quick one for me. At one time, somebody threw a banana into my bag and hid it in my bag to where after, about a week, it started, my wrestling bag started smelling pretty bad.
Right.
And as soon as I seen it, I knew exactly who did it. And it was a tag team. So I took a padlock, and I took their jeans while they were inside the ring, and I put the padlock through every loophole for the jeans between both of them, and locked it and left.
Wow. I thought, you know what's crazy about that before you finish? I thought the seniors at our high school were the only ones that were that evil, because that was something that if you got caught by a senior anywhere in the school, they would literally, as a initiation as freshmen, they would literally padlock your pant loops. You would have to rip your pant loops and break your pants, your jeans,
yes,
just to get them off. There's times where there's some kids that, unfortunately, I heard in high school they had accidents because they couldn't rip the padlock off or break the loops off the jeans because they had to go to the bathroom so bad. Man, I've never heard anybody else do that. That's so. So go on.
I thought it was very original, because I never heard of anybody doing it either. But I figured since they're a tag team and they were probably in ribbing me together, I was going to get them both together. And you always see them tied at the hip, so they literally were going to be tied at the hip. But I left. The last laugh was on me because they used those jeans without the belt loops for street fights, in the future. So
yeah.
they still went ahead and used them.
Right, man. That's crazy. You literally padlocked. Now, was this a key padlock or was this those turndial padlocks?
What's the key?
Oh, okay. Well, no, these were turndial padlocks that we had. And they weren't the ones that had the long, high horseshoe U that clipped in there. It was the ones that were in there smaller and deeper. So, yeah, that was pain in the butt. I mean, we walked into the shower room because one time the seniors took all the padlocks off of all the lockers. I don't know how they did it. This is just a story I heard. And everybody's undergarment was hung up on top of the steam pipes that the padlocks could be at. And you had to literally get a ladder to get up there. So I don't know how they pulled this off, but they did. And that was pretty funny of hearing that. But then the belt loop one, I'm glad I steered clear of that. I was actually voted most likely out of my class to get initiated by the seniors or juniors. But what's funny is that I was the one that never got initiated. Two girls that were picking on me the most ended up getting initiated, getting a swirly. And for some of those listeners that don't know what a swirly is, in South Dakota, it's not just limited just to plain old water. But these girls just got plain old water. I don't think they wanted to deal with that mess. No pun intended. But yeah, no. I'm gonna still say that the slap, I'm not gonna take. I'd rather take the padlock, and the tuna smell over the gas cap over that slap. It's been a great time talking to you. I'm sorry that you weren't able to advance, but I can tell you one thing though. You guys have set a precedent on how much this means. I mean, they still get people trying to say, hey, can you put these guys, and these guys in? Well, then, they come back. Retro Soft says, well, we already had that time to, nominate people to be in this tournament. Now we're doing this tournament now. But you guys are literally the godfathers, the originators of this tournament, the founding members of the tournament. So, I hope that means a lot to you. I know it does for me as a fan, not as somebody that does podcasting or watches wrestling, but just as a fan to see that support, because I love independent professional wrestling. My friend has a promotion, like I told you. So I just want to tell you thank you for keeping this together and keep going. Obviously, people have seen you. They believe in you. And I'm glad that this showed you a little bit to where, you're not going to end up retiring, because you said the 10-year plan, and this January was the 10th year.
No, July.
July is the 10th year. Okay, I misspoke. I'm sorry.
I originally thought 5 years, and yeah, so we've seen how well that worked.
Yeah.
But honestly, I've seen them post something along the lines of there's a possibility of DLC in the future if the game is a good success.
Right.
And even without that little carrot dangling, I still am a huge supporter of this game. I'm still going to follow it. I'm still going to push it as much as I can, even if I'm not in the tournament anymore.
Right.
Just because I believe in the game. I love the old WrestleFest arcade game, and bringing that style with some of the great people like Zack Sabre Jr., Colt Cabana, and then some of the older ones like the BWO, Road Warriors, Austin Idol. I mean, I'm planning on buying the game first chance I get.
Right.
Even if I'm not a part of it, even if they don't have the creator wrestler, so I can create myself because I'm a mark.
I hope they do. I hope this is inspired them to do a DLC. I'm not going to say too much of to a point to kind of I'm not going to elaborate too much, but go check out the interview that I did with Michael Herman, the CEO of RetroSoft. I did one back in mid-fall before the winter with him, and that was right before he ever had any news to give out for the PS4 going there, because at that point he was just PC, Switch, and Xbox, and I think they just announced Xbox right before I had him on the show. But maybe that'll give you a little insight on some of the stuff that I was talking to him about. I do hope that they do a DLC. I'd like to see, personally, different kind of territories or divisions, no pun intended with what the tournament's doing, but different territories around the U.S. like they used to have, and kind of put a DLC together. Because I think a lot of people want that. They've had the mainstream for so much, and I know, seeing what I've saw in the independent scene in this area, it's a booming scene, and people want more independent wrestling. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's sad that only one person's going to get it, because out of the names I was talking about earlier, with Matt Cross, Sugar Dunkerton, Simon Miller, Warhorse. I mean, there's a lot of big names that people want in the game already. That said, these people should have already been there. Right. They all deserve to be there.
I think they do. I'd like to see more of the other athletes go out there and push for that. I do know that, and it's probably a shock to some people. I didn't know who Warhorse was until this game came out, until people were putting that out there, and I watched, and I didn't know. Obviously, I didn't know who you were. No offense. I'm in the Midwest. I didn't really get out there. Like I said, Twitter. I'm not that great at Twitter, so I don't know how. I've been trying to look for a lot of independent wrestlers and like and follow them, so then I could see their stories and see what they're doing, because I'm a fan of professional wrestling. I like the old school and new school of professional wrestling. I'll watch sports entertainment, but I'm not a fan of that name. But yeah, I mean, keep going, keep pushing. I know that the voices were heard from them. That's why I guess from what I read, they didn't expect this to blow up like it did.
No. From what I've read as well, this was a very happy surprise. But I mean, what better way to promote it than get people from all around the globe to push it?
Right. And all those guys at RetroSoft, and I'm not saying this because they're not sponsoring this at all. We do have sponsors like Jekyll and Hyde Barbecue, Midwest All Pro Wrestling, Remedy Brewing Company, and K-Back Radio. But I have to give it to them where credit is due. I think it's great to what they're doing. I know that they're nice people. and to give you guys all a shot to get your names out there, that says a lot. And I will be going to get the game no matter what. I want a system, or a system that to have a game that I can enjoy. And I'm old school. I was born in the 80s, 1980 to be exact. And I remember, the Map Mania. I remember WrestleFest, and I loved WrestleFest. So this is going to be an awesome thing, and hopefully they do. If they don't do a DLC, which I want them to, hopefully they have the create a wrestler. And I tell you what, I'm going to make all the wrestlers on there. My son, got me into that. Just to see some of the create a wrestlers that they have in other games. I think that's a definite must. So before we go, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where you're at? Please send me a tweet with all your information, or a direct message, so I can put this on the description so people can find you, and I can put that out there on a Facebook post and all that. If you haven't found me on Facebook, please find us on Facebook, the Kota Bear, DJ Barbecue's on there. You can find my personal one, and I'll tell you that off studio if you want. But we're at the Kota iRadio Network, WK, capitalized at the end. We're at Uncut Live, space in between, and then at Pro Wrestling Uncut, which is PROWRES Uncut. But here, go ahead and take the platform and tell all the listeners where they can find you.
All right, on Facebook, I'm just Jeff Connelly, Connelly. I do have a fan page, but I'm not very good at keeping that updated. It's mainly just my personal page, and is my wrestling page as well. Twitter is JConOnline, and Instagram, even though it's more of a personal thing, it's JCon83. Couple of places that'll be in the future. I'll be at Heroes to Legends in Silva, North Carolina. Any Innovate Wrestling show that's in Kingsport or Morristown, Tennessee. They have their own pivot share if you want to check that out. West Virginia Championship Wrestling out in Bluefield, West Virginia. Rated R Wrestling in Virginia, or Kapow Wrestling in Knoxville. That's where I'll be guaranteed all year, and you never know where I'll pop up elsewhere.
Right on. Well, Jeff, make sure that you keep in touch with us. You're a great person. Glad to meet you. Go and like all of our on Twitter accounts, Instagram, Facebook, so we can keep in touch. I'll have the guys get you on their show so they can talk to you, because I know they really wanted to do the interview. But unfortunately, life happens and they have to work, or, you have other obligations. So it's understandable. My name is DJ Barbecue. Listeners, thank you once again for following us, listening to us. We appreciate it. Go to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and keep supporting us. We appreciate it. Jeff, thank you very much once again. Hope everybody has a good night. Bye. Peace.